Vanachari Damunatera Vanachari Damunatera Vanachari Damunatera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Everything is perfect, according to Isopanisad. Hare Krishna. Let us chant our invocation. That's okay, that's... Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Santi Santi Santi. Hare Krishna. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Tam Shrimat Krishna Chaitanya Devam Vande Jagat Gurum Yasyanukampaya Shvapi Mahabdim Santaret Sukham. My respectful obeisances unto the Guru of the whole universe, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy a small dog can cross a big ocean very happily and easily. Yasya prasadadagipi sadhya sarvagyatam vrajetsa Shri Chaitanya Deva me Bhagavan samprasidatu. May Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, be merciful unto me. By His grace, a complete fool can get all knowledge in one moment. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. In the Isopanisad, the sages and the rishis, the seers, are teaching us the principle of Ishavasya, that in the center of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Isha. And then we should surrender unto Him. But after we surrender, we should not stop acting. We should act happily with responsibility. And then He is described as one who is walking and not walking, who is faster than everybody, who is sending rains and controlling all the airs, inside and outside. He is the source of all knowledge. That's one of the explanation of how He is faster than the air, because the bodies are moving by prana, by the life airs inside. And then we have two verses describing how we should practice seeing everything in Him and Him in everything, the Lord in everything and everything in the Lord, seeing the proper oneness. We heard about three types of oneness, or three explanations of what does it mean that everything is one, we are all one. What are the explanations? Do you remember from the morning? Tejas? Oh, sorry. Like a spark in the fire. Dear sparks, we are part of the same fire. Drop in the ocean. Dear drops, or big drops, we are part of the same ocean. Ashar? Yes, and the family, parts of the same family, one in interest. We should be one in interest. Who? Drop from the Shrikant, yes. Drop from the Shrikant, yes. Well, that's not in the purport. That's some special commentary. Okay, yes. So these are oneness, and then three results come if you meditate on this oneness, and if you try to see Krishna in everything and everybody. What are the results? Two verses give. Bashar? Free from envy in the sense of hatred. Envy is often used in the sense of hatred, yes? Yeah, no fear of the future and no illusion from the present, yes. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, if I still have illusion, maybe means I somehow try to not see Krishna somewhere. Or if I am afraid, again, I'm not seeing Krishna. Not meditating on Krishna. Or if I am sad about something, again, maybe I'm not seeing Krishna in something. How everything is coming from the Lord, right? Okay, so these are two verses teaching us to meditate. And then we hear about the three levels, Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. So the four practices of a Madhyam, Adhikari, Madhyam devotee, intermediate practitioner. What are the four practices? You should see which four categories? Krishna as the object of love. Yes. Second? Devotees as friends and objects of our friendly efforts. Yes. Two more. To the innocent, be merciful. And then what about those who are inimical, hostile, and maybe even envious? Maybe they are like demoniac, and then we practice towards them That's too much. That's too heavy. That's for the innocent, not to the Harinam Chandavani. Neutral, yes. Very difficult. Yes. Basically, just not hate back. Compassion, that's for the next level. That's okay. That's very advanced class, not required yet. First, just not hate back. Just like turn away somebody's very hateful, not meditate upon them. Yes. So then, mantra 8 continues to teach us about the qualities of the Lord. So there are different translations. So it continues to describe what do we meditate upon, or in one commentary it says, how is it possible? How is it possible? If you meditate on Krishna in everybody's heart, you become free from hatred, shoko, illusion, and anxiety. So from illusion, hatred, and anxiety, or from fear, lamentation, and illusion. How is it possible? Why would you become free? What's the reason you become free? By meditating on Krishna in every situation, in every heart, and you become boom, free from illusion, free from fear, free from lamentation. Why is it working like this? Aha, good you asked. The answer is, oh, Hare Krishna. Laskavo prosimo. The answer is in mantra 8. Because he is like this. And then we have two parts of this mantra. So we can, it's a complicated mantra. We already started chanting this yesterday. We can chant this mantra together again. Saparigat chukramakayamavranam naviram suddhama papa vidham kavir manishi paribhusvayambur yata tatyatorthan vyadadachasati vyasamabhyam. The last line doesn't really fit, but still it's considered Jagati meter. So again, it can be translated in different ways. So Srila Prabhupada says, such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead. So Saparyagat, one should come and understand, come to understanding, to the understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is, and then we have different descriptions. Okay, Shukra, the translation here is the all-powerful, very powerful. Also, one other translation is the bright, clear light. So he's bright. So some commentators point out that the first half, the first two lines, show what he is not. He's not like this, not like this. No body, no gross body, no limitation, no darkness, no sin, no contamination. No. Neti. And the second half says yes. He is the sage, he is powerful, he is independent, and he is fair, he's giving everything. He fulfills desires of everybody. So first half is no, and the second half is yes. So sometimes we need no, right? So in so many religions we have, I think this is the first commandment in the Bible, do not worship idols, right? That's the do not create an idol, right? It's the first commandment. Have no God beside me, yes, okay. I mean, also something, like, do not create an idol, yes. This is very sad that sometimes they use this word for a deity, because we do not worship idols. It's not, deities are not idols. Deities are actual expansions of God. But the idea is, do not create a false idea of God. Do not create a false image of God. Do not create a fantasy to worship. Do not worship something that is not actually God. So worship God, yes, but see him, see actually where God is. Worship God, yes, but see him, see actually where God is. So therefore, many religions just limit themselves to this first half. Not. No fantasy, no created image. Do not create a false image of God. So that's the first half of this. Okay, so he's the greatest of all. He is unembodied, akayam. Omniscient. Avranam means not covered. Nothing in the word for word, it says without reproach. So no defect covers him. There is no defect, imperfection that would cover the Lord. Beyond reproach, without veins. This is very strange. Asnaviram, without veins. Yeah? Why would he not have veins? You know, what's wrong with veins? Veins are good. Right? So one comment is that he has no gross body. And veins here means the channels, the subtle channel, the nerve channels, which are something like 78,000 in the body, the nadis, big and small channels through which energy is going in the body. So one translation, one comment is that akaya means no subtle body. We have a subtle body inside, and no veins, without veins, means no gross body. No subtle, no gross body. So he is beyond physical and beyond even non-physical matter, even beyond mind, intelligence, and consciousness in the material world. So he's higher than that. Then Shuddham, pure and uncontaminated. Pure and uncontaminated. So Prabhupada gives such a sweet translation here in word for word. Shuddham, antiseptic. Because he's so pure, he makes other pure. Not that he's pure, but by his touch, even other things become pure. By chanting the name, by meditating on the Lord, we become pure. So that's Shuddham. And apapa vidham, papa is a simple word, means sin, basically. Although it seems that in the modern world, sin, I don't even know, wie geht das in Deutsch? Sünde, hat es irgendeine Bedeutung noch, oder? No? Keine Bedeutung mehr? Ja, Sünde ist, aber wie benutzt man das heutzutage? Nur in christliche. Because we had translators into Danish, and they were complaining that the word has lost the meaning. And in some languages they try to use some other word because sin has a very religious meaning, right? So here Prabhupada is saying that uncontaminated or prophylactic. Okay, prophylactic. Because sin is something that attracts future suffering, basically. Some actions that create future suffering. That's the idea of sin, right? So therefore Prabhupada says prophylactic, that he is counteracting. Prophylactic means he's counteracting. If we put Krishna in what we do, or God into what we do, if we connect with him, then it removes future suffering. It prevents future suffering. But in a simple way, if you study philosophy, if you study spiritual life, if you study religions, there is, the concept of sin, and basically free from sin. He is free from sin. He makes us free from sin. Okay. Any questions here? Is everything okay? So this is the first half. No, not. Then the second half. The self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. So whatever desires you've had, if any of them were fulfilled, you know who fulfilled them. That's him. Plus, yatatatha. He's fulfilling them. It's a nice word. I'm not sure it's here coming in the translation. Yatatatha means fairly, in a just, spravedlivo, fairly. He fulfills them in a fair way, in the best way, as we deserve, and maybe slightly better than we deserve, or in some cases much better than we deserve. So yathatata. It's a simple word. Yatha means how, tatha so. Yathatata. Basically, it means fair in Sanskrit. So this is the Lord. So first half negative, second half positive, fulfilling desires of everybody, and not just now, since forever. Since forever. Basically it says since forever. Shashvatibhya means forever. Like precisely. Since forever. That's what it says actually. But since the years forever. So even in the previous lives he did it. So that's our Krishna. So this is why if we put him into our meditation, if we put him into our heart, we get all these good results, positive, wonderful benefits mentioned in the previous verses, if we meditate upon him. Even, again, I'm now reading the Yoga Sutra that Garuda Prabhu is preparing, our professor Graham Schweig in the Yale University Press. And in the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says also that if you meditate on Ishvara, on the Lord, it removes obstacles. It removes the obstacles that you may have in your meditation. So it removes obstacles on your path to perfection, on your path to trance. So that's why this is given here, and it says you should meditate upon him. Okay, then I will jump to the end. Not all the way to the end, but 2 paragraphs before the end. So Prabhupada begins the paragraph. God is described here as Paribhu. Paribhu. Yeah, Paribhu. Pari is means around, periphery. We have in Greek periphery, like around periphery. In German it survived as versprechen. This prefix. In Ukraine it's perekenote, or some Slavic languages. It's a suffix that survives in most Indo-European languages. So paribhu means over, and bhu, powerful. He's over powerful. He's super powerful. And how powerful? So Prabhupada says, God is described here as paribhu, the greatest of all. No one is greater than or equal to him. Other living beings are described here as beggars who ask goods from the Lord. Yes? Hare Krishna. The Lord supplies the things the living entities desire. Even if you don't know about him, still we actually, one devotee said, Akrura, the Gita coach, he said that every thought is a prayer. Every desire is a prayer. Right? Even if you do not know to whom to direct this desire, every thought is a prayer, actually. If the Lord supplies the things the living entities desire. If the entities were equal to the Lord in potency, if they were omnipotent and omniscient, there would be no question of their asking or begging from the Lord, even for so-called liberation. Real liberation means going back to Godhead. Liberation conceived of by an impersonalist is a myth, and begging for sense gratification has to continue eternally unless the beggar comes to his spiritual senses and realizes his constitutional position, our eternal position. And then Prabhupada, so it's very philosophical, right? Then Prabhupada shows his taste, his taste for Vrindavan. He says, when Lord Krishna appeared on earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestation as the personality of Godhead through his various activities. In his childhood, he killed many powerful demons, such as Aghasura, Bakasura, and Shakatasura. And there was no question of his having acquired such power through any extraneous endeavor. He lifted Govardhan Hill without ever practicing weightlifting. Hare Krishna. Not that Krishna was and then I remember once we were flying from Kiev to Crimea with Niranjana Swami, and somehow the full plane was full of bodybuilders. They had some international championship in Crimea, so they were flying there, and there was Niranjana Maharaj. I was sitting, and there was one girl, quite slender actually. She was. There was one very bulky woman also there, but this one she competed in. They compete in a low body fat. In other words, they not only the muscles, but they have different categories. So she asked. I started, of course, that Hare Krishna. This is about Krishna, and I said, Krishna also lifted, Govardhan. He said, oh really? How? And Niranjana Maharaj had some fat-free cookies. zero fat. She said, really, you have zero? And that was like, oh, now you can find things like this, but back like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, it was rare, you know, zero fat things. It was very fancy. So he said, we have zero fat cookies. Oh, this is the only, you can't imagine. I really want something sweet, but I can't allow myself. So if it's zero fat, I can take. So she took this. And she appreciated that Krishna can lift Govardhan Hill. She promised she will read about Krishna. Yes. So you can see Krishna is has a universal appeal. He's interesting even for bodybuilders. Yeah, become powerful through meditating on Krishna. He danced with the gopis without social restriction and without reproach. So avranam. So that's beyond any condemnation. And the proof is that Lord Chaitanya, who was a strict sannyasi monk, a rigid follower of disciplinary regulations, he was worshipping this relationship between Krishna and the gopis. To confirm that the Lord is always pure and uncontaminated, Sri Isopanisad describes him as Shuddham, antiseptic, and Apapavidham, prophylactic. He is antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him, like the sun can purify dirty things. So Prabhupada sometimes says that the sun can shine on some puddle of dirty things and it becomes clean, becomes pure. Okay, so that's our Krishna, and you can see how Srila Prabhupada describes a rather philosophical point that he is all-powerful. So he says how he is all-powerful because he killed this demon and that demon. When he was Shakatasura, he was what, 2 months old, right? Bakasura, he was 7 months old. Agasura, he was what, like 10 years old, right? He killed these demons. And then he lifted Govardhan without training. So that's our Krishna. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Vrindavan, Govardhan Dhari ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments here? Any points? Tobias? Yeah. You can see it's here in the comment Prabhupada puts near the end, and in the word for word. Okay. Word for word, that's how Prabhupada translates this Shuddham. Shuddham, word for word, yes. Antiseptic. Okay. All right. Then, now, if Krishna gives everything to everybody when we pray, does it mean that we don't need to also develop qualifications? So Prabhupada says, no. There has to be 2 things. If a man wants to be a high court judge, basically it means just a judge, because high court just means a judge. He must acquire not only the necessary qualifications, but also the consent of the authority who can award the title of High Court Judge. The qualifications in themselves are insufficient for one to occupy the post. It must be awarded by some superior authority. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to living entities in proportion to their qualifications. But good qualifications in themselves are not sufficient to enable one to receive awards. The mercy of the Lord is also required. So in the Damodar Lila, we hear that when Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, it was always 2 fingers too short. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this symbolizes that there has to be 2 things. From one side, our effort, and from the other side, Krishna's mercy. So when the 2 things combine, our effort is not enough, Krishna's mercy is enough, but Krishna wants to give it so that it really is beneficial. So therefore he looks, are you making effort? Are you making endeavor? So these 2 things together is the best combination. Effort our work and Krishna's mercy. So these two together, that's the best combination. Yes, that, for example, you can study all the law books. You can know law perfectly, right? And you can have perfect understanding of how to apply. You can know all the cases from the last 200 years. But it's not enough to be the judge. There has to be the local, whatever, you have to pass the exams, and not only pass the exams. You can pass the exams, and even that is not enough. There has to be whatever the local system is. They have to appoint you that, okay, you be the judge. This is the example here Prabhupada is giving. Yeah, this is here in the middle. That's, see, this is the verse, and this is here. Yeah, 8 is in the 8. Because I'm going back in the purport. First I jumped to the end, and now I'm going to the middle. Okay. Prabhupada also speaks about the deity form, Archa Vigraha, worshipable form, and he says that when it is created or established according to the instructions of the authorized teachers or acharyas, then it's non-different from the original form of the Lord. The Lord's original form is that of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna expands himself into an unlimited number of forms, such as Baladev. We have Baladev Purnima in just a few days. Rama, Nrisimha, Sri Nrisimhadev Ki Jai, and Varaha. All of these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. So, by worshipping the Archa Vigraha, such a deity form, one can at once approach the Lord, who accepts the service of a devotee by his omnipotent energy. So if he has the power, why wouldn't he have the power to manifest through any form, especially through a worshipable form in the temple? Do we not believe in his power? Do we not believe that he is God and he can accept our service? Without such a form, we cannot see him. We cannot approach him. But through such a form, we can approach him, and then we can reciprocate with the Lord. And of course, there are so many. If you have conversations with the pujaris or with the devotees, there are so many stories which describe all kinds of interactions with the Lord, also miraculous interactions. There was even one instruction by the GBC to write a deity local Purana, the temple Mandira Purana, about all the stories that happened in the temple. There are different stories. Maybe you know some of the stories, which are difficult to explain. In one temple, sometimes the deities would exchange the necklaces. In another, sometimes something would disappear and then it would reappear. I somehow like one story my friend told me. In the early days, somebody brought sauerkraut. Sauerkraut. I think there's no other. That's the word they use in English. Sauerkraut, right? Kvashena kapusta. Yes. And it's controversial, if it's made just in general. Of course, here in Europe, in winter, you need something like this, especially before fridges. That was the only way to get vitamin C in winter. Sauerkraut. For health, it was the only way. But in India, it's considered like, it's kept for a long time. It's kept for so long. So is it fresh? It's not so fresh. So it's not considered such a high class food. It's fermented. So fermented food is considered okay, fermented. So plus it was brought by someone. Someone made it outside. You know what's a sauerkraut? It's like cabbage, like marinated with some pickled cabbage. Yes, and so they brought it, and they didn't know, can they offer this to the deity or not? Because on one hand, it's like it's it's nothing bad, it's clean. On the other hand, they are not quite sure, is it okay or not? So they decided, okay, they will put an offering. Again, don't experiment. In the temples, mostly we have very clear standards, but that was like a very new temple, Gornitai. So they decided, okay, they will put one tray of offering in front of the Lord, and this sauerkraut they will put on another plate in front separately. And then they will see, they will say, Krishna, if you can, you can take. If not, please, okay, leave it alone, or we'll see. Right? So they put it on the table. They offered the offering to the Gornitai. Then Pujari offered obeisances, and then closed the curtain, and then left, went out of the deity room, out of the altar, and then they hear the sound plop. What's happening? So they look inside after that, and they see that this sauerkraut is on the floor. It's like he's taking no, this one, no. Like he threw it away. Anyway, this is one of many stories that devotees can tell you. There are many stories. The thing is, you don't need to take anybody's words about this. This is your relationship with the deities, and you establish your relationship with the deities through your interaction. That's the idea. That's why the Lord is appearing as the deity, to have the interaction with you. So if you approach sincerely, you can yourself get the full experience of the interaction. I remember once in Mayapur, I came and I stayed in Vrindavan for a long time, but Mayapur I didn't go so often. So I remember I once came, and I was standing in front of the deity, and somehow I didn't feel so much connection to the deities. Right? I was just standing there, and okay, I'm standing there. Who has seen who has been to our Mayapur Temple? You were there, Mayapur Temple? You were in Mayapur? No? You were in Mayapur? Okay. Radha Madhava and Ashtasaki. You should all go! It's one of the favorite places in the universe for the devotees. And I was standing, and I felt like not much connection there. And then I remembered my prayers and my verses that I recite, and then I decided, I'm not praying. I should offer my prayers that I usually offer to the Lord. So I started offering prayers, and then suddenly I could feel the Lord's glance on me. Before it was like, I was there, they are there, and we are like disconnected. And then suddenly, as I started praying, I could feel like, the Lord is looking at me. And yes, what is this? And I immediately could feel some connection. This is something you can feel in Bhakti in general. This is the miracle of Bhakti. What other processes offer you after 10 or 20 years, in Bhakti you can achieve within like half hour by devotion, if you try to actually establish the connection through Bhakti, through devotion, and not just through your own power, but through devotion. So Krishna is all powerful. He can reciprocate, and he is appearing in such a form so you can see and you can serve and you can reciprocate, establish a relationship with the Lord. So that's the glory of this relationship and of this form. Okay? Questions? Points? Comments? Okay. So this is 10 to 8. We can start the next 6 mantras, which are taken together. So you can see that the next 6 mantras, they come in 2 triplets, 3 mantras and 3 mantras. And they are very similar. So mantra 9 is very similar to 9, 10, 11, to 12. Mantra 10 is very similar to 12. And just a second, 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, yeah, 9 to 12, 10 to 13, and 11 to 14. They are almost the same, just one word is different. So the first 3 speak about knowledge, ignorance and knowledge, and the second three speak about the absolute and relative, something absolute and relative. Otherwise, they are practically the same. And they are rather unusual, actually. They are rather unusual. This is not what you expect normally to hear. And there are, again, different ways to explain them. They can be directed to a person outside in the street who doesn't care about spiritual life. And this is how Prabhupada often translates them. They can be directed at someone who cares about spiritual life but doesn't care about devotional service. That's another way. And the third way is they can be directed at someone who is already practicing bhakti and already practicing bhakti yoga. For all three, it is relevant, but there are three different levels how you can explain them. So usually how we explain is as if to a person, for a person on the street. Because, you know, we distribute how many millions of these books on the street, so people wake up, oh, what am I doing? What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? What's the idea, right? So that's the main interpretation we offer. But they are relevant also if you have been practicing for a long time. That's also very relevant. But you have to see like in a slightly different way. So we will discuss it. Let's chant mantra 9. Andham tama pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato bhuya evate tamo yau vidyayam rataha. Those who engage in the culture of nascent activities, ignorance, avidya, shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. So far, so good, right? It's clear. They worship ignorance, they go to the dark places. Clear. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. Actually, you can see in Sanskrit that it doesn't say so-called, just culture of knowledge, cultivation of knowledge. So that's rather unusual. So if you develop ignorance, okay, that's clear. You develop ignorance, you go to dark places. You know, what is ignorance? How would you explain in the normal terms? What does it mean to develop ignorance in this modern world? What's developing ignorance? Being selfish, even okay, even yes. Go ahead. Good, Tobias. Yes. Materialistic without God. Even worse. Even worse than that. Even from the materialistic point of view. From the materialistic point of view, what does it mean to develop ignorance? I don't. Criminal or on drugs? Yeah, it's very clear. Yes. Closed mind, closed eyes. Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah. So drugs or alcohol. This is a very, very good example, right? Basically, this is the conscious endeavor to become more ignorant, right? Again, it's not to just condemn somebody. People suffer, so they how do you call it? They self-medicate. They call it, yeah, self-medicate. It's sort of to feel a little less of pain that they feel, but still, it's voluntary ignorance, right? It's voluntary ignorance, the cultivation of ignorance, to know less, to feel less, to see less, basically, very often, right? To taking drugs or taking alcohol. Alcohol is even more clear. So alcohol is culturally acceptable. You have alcohol everywhere all the time around. Of course, Germany, I love coming to Germany because every year, like first time when I came, I don't know, 15 years ago, how many years ago it was, or it was longer, there was hardly, you couldn't see any, this, what do you call it, 0 alcohol, alcohol free. Then there's more, and now you can see everywhere on stops in the advertisement that something alcohol free is beer, and so they advertise, how do they advertise? That full taste and 0 something. They advertise it. They try to promote 0 alcohol. This is good. But otherwise, it's culturally acceptable. Culturally acceptable to get drunk. You can, I think, even in the night, you can go buy something, right? far as I understand. I don't have much experience with this, but in some countries it's restricted. In some countries, I think you can get something somewhere. Right? Yeah. So culturally, it's acceptable to take alcohol, but alcohol is one of the most horrible drugs. Actually, the way alcohol makes one crazy, not many drugs make you so crazy as alcohol, actually. And how harmful it is for everything, for relationships and everything, right? How it can be harmful. So that's one of the examples of this. You know, you cultivate this. Cultivate this means you drink more and more. You become dependent. Obvious. You go to dark places even now. Forget next life. Now you're in the dark place. You destroy everything. You destroy relationships. You destroy your sensitivity, your brain, your memory. One friend said that, what is it? Her father, basically, he was not an alcoholic, but he was, just drinking socially in the parties, and they always had parties, and then by whatever 60 something, that was it. His body couldn't take it anymore, and he died. So that's even a better example, I mean, it's an example of a better person, whereas so many times it creates so much trouble, so many problems. So this is very clear materially. But how does cultivation of knowledge bring one to a dark place, to an even darker place? Not to a dark place, but to an even darker place. How is it possible? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that was, I think, you have some comment? Yes. Yes. Often, if you... Right. Bring also others down. Right. If I spread some misunderstanding. Yes. So again, taken in three ways. It can be taken in three ways, right? One is for a materialist. So Prabhupada gives the example of getting good education and then using it just to create, like we have atomic weapons. And I think, well, Einstein was there, and some of the others who were co-creators. Who else was there? Some famous. There was, well, you have Weizsäcker here in Germany, and there was several people. So I think most of them regretted, actually, that they took part in creation. Right? He said, "I'm sorry that I contributed to creating such weapons." So again, it's not to pass the judgment, but it till today makes everybody scared. Right? This is what President Putin tries to scare the whole world with. Be afraid of me, be afraid of me. I'll fire some atomic weapons. Surrender to me. Till today, they're trying to use it as to scare, and we are scared, actually. Who knows? We are scared. Why not? So it is knowledge. It is part of high development of understanding, but the result is so much fear for the whole world. Burijan Prabhu was saying, I don't think we have anybody. Burijan Prabhu was saying that when he was growing up in New York in the 60s, the kids, like children in the school, they had nuclear weapon attack drill. So there would be some siren, and the kids in the school, they would had to go under their desk to hide. And he was thinking, if there is a nuclear bomb, what will this desk help? How will it help? If I hide under this desk. So you can imagine how much fear. I grew up also. It was always the danger that some nuclear war can happen, right? For me, it was already later, so we were not so much afraid. Although we were trained, how to, if there is a nuclear explosion, you should drop with your feet to it, and hide your head with something. It is also, magical. It's ridiculous, If you can see it, it's too late, it doesn't matter. You drop with your head towards or or in the opposite direction. You will already are going to have so much exposure. It's too bad. But Brijan Prabhu was saying it was actually like the previous generation. There was so much fear for the children. Just imagine, regular drills. So that's the example of this cultivation of knowledge, which creates more suffering. It's knowledge, obviously. It's knowledge. It's high knowledge, atomic to know the atomic theory and all these things. But you can see it creates more suffering. Or what we see, like the other example of ugra karma is slaughterhouses. Slaughterhouses. Yeah, we kill. What is it? Something like 60 billion animals every year, and some crazy number of fish. I think something like 1 trillion or something. It's crazy number of fish are. I mean, not only the ones we eat, but the ones used to feed the other fish. Something, a crazy number. Just recently, I heard. Do you think if we can feed 60 billion animals, we can't feed 7 billion humans? Why do you need, if you can feed 60 billion animals, 1 kilogram of flesh is, 18 kilograms of grain. So it's enough to feed you for half a year, basically, for one kilogram. So this knowledge is used for rather dark, with rather dark results, creating fear and danger. So you can see it. If this is how it's used, then the result will be not very pleasant. Okay, it's already past 8. Do we have any questions here? Yes.
Please, can you quickly summarize these 3 ways?
3 ways, yes.
Yeah,
so this is how materialistic knowledge can be used to increase something horrible, something that creates more suffering, right? Like we see that it's used to create slaughterhouses. Even the most meat-eating nations never ate so much meat as they can eat nowadays, right? Because there was no fridges. There was even in the culture, like Christians, I think they are allowed only 80 days or something of meat eating, right? And there were no fridges, so they never ate so much meat. I mean, that you just go to any supermarket and you can buy whatever. So much suffering. So yes, it's advancement of knowledge, but it creates suffering. So this is materialistic knowledge. Then the other one is impersonal knowledge. That, okay, you worship, you practice spiritual life, but it's all relative. There is no criterion, no truth. And if there is truth, it's just some impersonal light. Nothing is there. So also, this is, and if there is God, you are God. You are God, right? So that also creates a distortion, and that also oftentimes creates a rather negative result instead of the positive possibilities. And now, for us, how is it possible for a devotee? Can we also get some negative results by cultivating knowledge? Even good knowledge, even like knowledge from the Shastra. Yes, flowery words of the Vedas. Yes, exactly. So that's he brings this up here in the flowery words of the Vedas. So materialistic, impersonal, and even devotionally, it is possible to misuse our knowledge, to become proud, to just defeat, or to for some other purposes, and get distracted for a while. So then verse 10, so here it says, you develop ignorance, you go to a dark place. You develop knowledge, you go to an even darker place. Then verse 10. Let's read verse 10. Anya devahur vidyaya, anya dahur avidyaya, iti susrumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. Okay, that's clear. Okay, that's what you expect. One result from knowledge, the other result from ignorance, right? Of course, what is emphasized here that we shushruma. We must listen to the discipline, to the line of teachers. So in a authorized wisdom tradition, they call it nowadays, wisdom tradition. Then you see there will be different result from this and from this. And then mantra 11 gives the reconciliation, gives the harmonization or the answer. Mantra 11. Vidyam cha yastadvedo bhayam saha avidyayam rityum tirtva vidyayam ritam asnute. Only one who can learn the process of nations and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Hare Krishna. So basically, it's so elegant. It's like very, very exalted music here. What you have, so in verse 9, it says that by how will we? Okay, let's take these two colors. That by ignorance you go down. I'll put avidya, right? Avidya, one goes down, downward arrow, and by knowledge, or so-called knowledge, we spoke about three kinds, one goes even further down, which is a shock. It's a scandal. I thought knowledge is good. How is it that by knowledge you get an even worse result? It's crazy. Then verse 10 pacifies you a little bit, saying that no, it's actually you're right, that by ignorance you get one result, and by knowledge you get another result. But you must hear from some tradition, right? Just do it in a proper way. Okay, that's so what do we do? How do we do this? What's the proper way in dealing with this? So that's already verse 11, saying that we will tell you, this is how you do. You do the study of ignorance and knowledge, avidya and vidya, side by side, on parallel lines. And if you do like this, you will go to the best result. Congratulations. Hare Krishna. Alles klar? So what does it mean on different lines for these different audiences? I'll just say it shortly now. That Prabhupada explains that materialistic life is like fever. He says this in the purport there. It's like fever, like having 41 degrees fever, right? You know that 42 is dangerous. At 42, the protein starts cooking, right? So they advise to bring it down even by water, just cool it down, because it's dangerous, just physically dangerous. So cool it down, right? So this is the materialistic fever. But then we try to cool it down. But then we see that some schools like the impersonal school, they will say, cool it down all the way. Just reject everything, renounce everything. don't do any work, don't do any interaction. Forget about family, forget about everything. Just renounce the whole everything, reject everything, right? So Prabhupada says, no, do not bring it down to 0. From 41, bring it down to 36.6 or whatever it's nowadays, 36.8 I think already. To the, you know, to the normal temperature, not to 0. And sometimes we have also this in our temples, that you know, we join and we work, and we neglect, you know, just normal care of the body. In our Punjabi Bhakti temple, they said that at one point they noticed that the Brahmacaris spend more on medicine than on food. So then they made a morning yoga class, hatha yoga class, to do some, you know, some health care. And if one does not attend this hatha yoga class, then they do not pay for his medicine. If he doesn't do, you know, some minimal exercise, then they will not pay for his pharmacy expenses. You know, because the conclusion here is proper balance, proper proportion. As if you ever studied, you know, the Greek philosophers, ancient philosophers, they said that virtue is in a proper proportion. Every virtue has to be done in temperance. Everything has to be done not too much, not too little. Not too much, not too little, to the proper proportion. In Polish they say, co za dużo to niezdrowo. Anybody understands Polish here? That was something I heard a lot in my childhood. Co za dużo, what's too much is not healthy. Yeah? Whatever is going too far is not healthy. So that's basically the application for us here. Again, we will discuss more tomorrow, but so far I just wanted to show how Isopanisad is relevant for different audiences. For someone who is completely foreign to spiritual life, for someone who does spiritual life but in some very negative school, and even for us, when we do everything properly. I mean, we have the proper doctrine, but we can take things too far sometimes, or not far enough. So everything has to be done in the best proper proportion. Everybody has their proper quota. This is the idea here in the Isopanisad. So you can see Isopanisad was not written just you know, for materialists. It was written also for those who practice spiritual life. And this is, you know, this is the shocking instruction. Be careful. You know, you can overdo even the good thing if you are how to say, not wise or not balanced, or if you're too one-sided. Hare Krishna. Every day we sing the prayer before eating, Sharira Avidya Jal. This body is the lump of ignorance, right? But we wash it, right? We wash it, we brush it, we feed it, right? So that's the proper, you take care of avidya, yeah? You offer nice prasadam, you eat healthy food, you take, that's the cultivation of ignorance. It doesn't mean that you try to become ignorant, you take care of this side, you know, feed the lump of ignorance, because it's very useful, right? The car is dead completely, but you do not neglect it, right? You oil it, you put fuel, you do everything. You clean it, right? And then it serves longer. So same here. Harinam Chitamani.
Sorry, I have so many questions.
It's good.
I would like to ask regarding prayers that you mentioned. What's more powerful, that we repeat the prayers that are in scripture, that we try to, that we learn them by heart, or
compose your own.
Composing own prayers. So, I would like to know how to really pray.
If you read the Bhagavatam, you may be surprised that almost every need we may have is reflected there. So you can have some super ancient, beautiful prayer from thousands of years that can completely 100% match your heart's desire. And that's, the best. But it does not negate that you can compose your prayers. Because anyway, just direct them to Krishna and say them in surrender, in the best mood. Like, Krishna, if you allow, if I want to serve you, that's my ultimate goal. And for the service, I think this is helpful. So in surrender, if you offer our prayers, that's also accepted. Yes? Okay, dear balanced yogis, dear devotional practitioners of Bhakti Yoga, we continue tomorrow at 7:45 in the morning. You please review the Isopanisad. You can see this is the preparation, Isho prep, tiny cc Isho prep for the test. Maybe Monday, I think we can do either Tuesday morning or Monday afternoon. We can see what works best. And wish you the best of balance in very healthy practice of Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Mevacha, Paditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.